Go for it, breaking.
Well, that was an abrupt ending.
All right. That's smooth, wasn't it? He just started today, folks. Give him a little time.
Yeah, well, we kind of have lost our true intro, so I guess we just cut short and voila, here you are.
We've been doing this way for 2 months.
Yeah, well, good evening. Yeah,
swim.
Good evening, folks. It is the 16th day of July on a Friday evening here. Tonight we are going to have a little bit of a go at it here. Our somewhat traditional think tank, I guess. Myself, Soko, Tennessee Homesteader, and I think that old Pinata should be along here momentarily. We'll see. Tonight, who knows what we're going to talk about exactly or where the direction will head, but nonetheless, we'll make a go of it. So, that being said, I'll open the floor up.
Yeah, TMC should be in here in a few minutes too. He's in the kitchen. I don't know the infatuation with these guys, the kitchen, the phone, the water. I don't know what's going on with them. Not you two. You seem to stay out of there, but between Pinata
no. We just don't do it on airtime.
There you go.
Right.
As John Philip Seymour said, sustenance.
That's right. Man's got to eat.
You bet.
I think there was a show called that once, right?
Yeah. And, well, I could tell you, since I've not been in the think tank for a while, just got back from vacay. Took a little jaunt down to Arizona, hoping that I would get to deal with some of the audit results. Not really. It was too early.
Close enough?
Yeah, I was just north of that, about an hour and a half north in Prescott, Phoenix. So somewhat my old hunting grounds, I went to school there, not in Prescott, but in Phoenix. And
Pinata's in the house. Say hi to Pinata. We're live, by the way.
Okay. Are you sure? I don't want to be tricked again.
No, we are. Listen, we are live.
Real deal.
And y'all need to tell me if y'all want me to toggle YouTube off, because we are on ScrewTube right now. Susan Wojcicki in her playing field. So if we need to cut it off, we can. But
hi, Susan.
No, right.
Yeah. Sorry. Little tyrants.
Yeah.
Warren Pinata.
How's the mustache, Susan? Need a little clipping there? You know,
Mein Führer.
Mein Führer, yeah, exactly. Or should we shave it like Mussolini? That should get us kicked off.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, as I was saying, just went for the rodeo and visit our friends who actually have a place there in Prescott. And some of you may have known her. She's been on air with me when I was doing some recordings, YY and on. Mm-hmm. She's kind of the one that talked me back into decoding and things some time ago when I visited her and her husband years ago, a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I guess now. This was, you know how we all hit the, excuse me, where we hit a wall kind of, sort of.
Yep.
Right. So I was at that point, and it was just so happens that we went to visit them at their house. And in an undisclosed location out of the country. And she basically talked me back into it. Kind of gave me the old pep talk and kick in the ass. Anyways, we had a great time. The longest running rodeo in the United States. First one was in 1888. And one of the, actually, I did not know this. Well, I knew this before going there, but Prescott is, and at the rodeo is where they filmed one of the Steve McQueen movies. And it has one of the oldest saloons, the Palace Saloon in the country. And pretty cool there because they dress up as the doormen are actually vintage cowboy dress, and all the waitresses, which are all women, are all in dance hall girl outfits.
Are they able to hold multiple fistfuls of mugs of beer?
No, they're not. It's not like a Hofbrau, but it is. It's more like an old Western saloon. It's kind of funny because even at the top they have a mannequin where the ladies used to do their thing.
Yeah.
And on the second floor they have a stair that you go up there, and it's pretty funny.
See you back in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Hold the whiskey. Hold my whiskey. Anyway, so it was great. They have a 4th of July parade. It was for the 4th. So it was a wonderful time. So glad to be back. I played on the Deplorable Discussion. I played the opening ceremonies, which was very patriotic. If you guys want, I can play it later whenever we get a break or we want to get away from the news.
I was gonna say, did you have any good Tex-Mex while you were on your travels?
Yeah,
to or fro or there even?
Not as much Tex-Mex because in Texas I wanted to have a tomahawk ribeye, and I wanted it, and then when I arrived at the restaurant that we wanted to go to, which is it's a rather tourist trap, but it has a great steaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw it, oh my gosh, 48 to 56 ounces of steak.
Woohoo! Is that the one where they do contests at?
That's the 72 ounce one. And that one's boneless. Yeah.
1 hour. And
1 hour.
The whole thing. It's free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just the steak. This is which they don't tell you until you get there. It's also the fixings, which you have to. Yeah. You have to order the potatoes or whatever you have as your sides, right? So yeah. And there are people that do it, and there are more than fail. I have not and will not, because they'll have to wheel me out of there.
Are you talking about the one in Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
You know a blonde-headed girl did the challenge ×2 and under the initial time?
No.
She did both. She ate 2 steaks, the baked potatoes, the salad, the roll, the extra side she had to do. She did 2 steaks. Did all
2
of
steaks?
it. ×2, yes. You can find it on YouTube.
That's 144 ounces of meat.
Oh, yeah. She ate it all.
Holy moly.
And she's a little blonde girl, real pretty. You know, she looks like she runs every day. I mean, yeah, she piled that stuff down ×2.
Her colon was saying, no.
Yeah.
But, more power to her. I've seen guys try to do it. I've not, the times I've been there, I've not seen a woman do it, but, or attempting, I should say. But it's pretty neat place in a way. It's all Western get up, not nearly as authentic as the Palace Saloon in Prescott, but very patriotic. Although even then, even in the most going back to Prescott now, even with the most patriotic setting and environment, where people actually stand up, put their hand on their heart or their hat, and sing the national anthem, right? Or applaud the police or applaud the fire personnel as forest fire personnel. And of course, that team of 19 hotshots that perished in that fire a few years ago, they were all from Prescott. So that hit that town pretty hard. But somebody had the balls to put a float for the jab.
Oh my!
I kid you not. With a guy walking around with a syringe, not offering it, but walking around with a syringe, and it was like, and it's got its due booze on the way. They had a Republican float, and they had a Democrat float with a cardboard cutout of camel toe in the front. Joe was on the opposite side, and that got its arousing boo as well. But a few applause. It wasn't all that, but yeah, all in all, it was great.
Before we get too far away, I'm just going to show you this. I'll show you this. See, ×2.
Yeah, there you go.
You want to know who did it?
Yeah, that's her.
This girl right here is the one that did it.
Oh my gosh!
Look how little she is. Little tiny little thing. Look, she ate both of those. There's the potatoes. There's the 6 fried shrimp, the salads, the roll. She ate it all, and she did it under the time of
my god!
One. She did that, and she set her camera up. She shows that she didn't change the camera, I guess, because a lot of these eating people do that. But yeah, she ate every bit of it.
More power to her, because I tell you, when you see that, they have one of those steaks on a bit of ice in front when you come into the place. 200. I mean, I'm not kidding. I saw some that I didn't do the count, but they look like almost 200 of those pseudo flat cars where they stack the containers, the connexes on top. I mean, boatload of those. Some of them sitting there waiting for the other one to go by.
We're back on.
Folks, if you're just joining us, getting back here after kind of a quick reboot, we're discussing some of the supply lines net here stateside, some of the things we're seeing. Homesteader having just been on some interstate travel and that, mentioning that a lot of truck movement out there. And then here today, I'm basically going off an article out of Zero Hedge talking about Union Pacific saying that rail cars and that are actually going to be stifled for about a week or so out of many of the ports and that from Long Beach to LA to Oakland. And here maybe about a month and a half ago, Freight Waves was talking that a lot of container ships are sitting out waiting to come into port, Oakland being the worst with the longest wait around 3 weeks. And so we're just discussing at the moment some of the supply lines and that, whether or not we're potentially seeing, the supply chain and that's continually work. We obviously know with the whole COVID crap that corporations, businesses, you name it, are short hands left and right. And Homesteader, you were saying what now is on the back of a lot of these trucks?
Sorry, Spectre, I went on mute. The hiring, we're talking, I saw one of them that was doing $25,000, sign up $25,000 plus.
Yeah.
You did not need to bring your own rig. And they had a 5,000, I think it was a 5,000, 10,000. I'm trying to visualize it now, right, in my mind's eye. But a signing bonus, overtime. I mean, they were offering the kitchen sinks, loosely put, to get truckers to come on.
Yeah, and it's interesting because here, maybe about a week or so ago, week and a half, there was another article I came across that says that the trucking industry as a whole is down about 20,000 drivers, I believe, thereabouts. And it literally said that they were going to lift restrictions in that for all these people who have failed drug tests, which consequently numbered right around the same amount of drivers that they needed. So it's like, well, if you got a little weed in your system, I suppose, hey, let's throw you behind the rig and get that stuff moving across the land.
And when you think of that, if actually, when for those of you out there that are traveling, pay attention to the truck stops. Those things, those businesses, right? They're a pretty large business. I mean, you got Travel America, you got Love's, you got Jay Flyer, something like that.
I think so.
I mean, those are the major ones. There's a whole bunch of other ones too, and they do a lot of business. Flying J, thank you. They do a lot of business because when you're in there, if you spend any time. Which I have a story on one of them. You see them, that's where the truckers go in and shower and all that, and they pay for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of commerce that surrounds the trucker, just not let alone the content of their haul, right? And none of them go really empty, right? Because they haul one way and they haul the other way. The story that I had was in one stop I made, and I think this was in Arkansas. I walk in. And let's say everybody was just shy of 5 feet tall, not children, speaking Spanish.
Spaniards.
Spaniards. And so I looked at I honestly, I went in to get some ice for the ice chest, but and I made a joke to the lady. I said, I looked around and said, where's the Greyhound bus? Right? Because of all the people that were there. And she turns around and points. And there was a bus. They were all going. And I can guarantee you that was a government-sponsored bus.
Yeah.
White, darkened windows type of thing. A chartered bus type of stuff. They were being bussed. I didn't ask. I didn't have to ask. It was very. So that's the other aspect that ties in.
I'm just going to add this. I was married to a flatbed truck driver. I'm going to tell you right now, Pilot has the best coffee, and Old Trapper has the best beef jerky. And hi, TMC. I'm glad you could make it out of the kitchen.
I'm still here in the kitchen.
No, you're not. Oh my God. Listen, I just got Pinata your joke too earlier when you said, "Are you sure?" For those of you that don't know, and we invited Pinata on the show with me and Casey. What was it, last Monday or something? And Pinata had went into this long 10-minute explanation of something we were talking about. He did not realize we were not live. He had to repeat the whole thing. That's where that joke's from. Sorry, Pinata. It took me a minute to get it, but yeah, Pinata's dropping his phone, and TMC loves to hang out in the kitchen or be eating while we're doing this.
Yeah, I just finished.
So,
Cherry.
what was dinner?
Dinner was hamburger with rice. It's good.
Protein and carbs.
So you mean like hamburger meat, not a hamburger? Okay.
It was right. It was brisket. That was what they call brisket anyway, in hamburger form, and then cooked in a pan. So you save the animal fat, and then you eat the animal fat rather than have it drip off in the barbecue. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that, based the rice, right?
Yeah, it was just rice and water for like 40 minutes, cooked slow, and then the slurry that was left over was drained out, albeit that could have been saved and eaten, but don't really care. The rice was very good. So, and then some cherries.
I'm going to say something to this, and just maybe we'll get into this conversation and roll into it. But I hear you talking about food, and today, I don't know if you guys know this. I know Breaking's at work because I've talked about it a couple times. But today, my dad brought me over 3 bags of groceries. Why is he doing that? Because one of my aunts is her son, so technically my first cousin, or no, I guess it would be a second cousin, is running a food bank in the next city over. They have so much food left over that it goes to my aunt. My aunt gives it to my dad. What my dad doesn't want, he brings me. To let you know, I'm the 4th person removed to getting 3 bagfuls of groceries to tell you how much food they're giving away. And then I just had an interview with them. I just got a message actually from him today about what's happening with the food over in South Africa. And so it just makes me kind of realize, just how much we still have an abundance here and what's going on in Cuba. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that little bit of a video I showed the other day about that man from Cuba, what they experienced there.
Protests, right?
Absolutely nothing to eat, really. They wait in line for hours for one product.
Yep.
And I'm over here getting today I got fresh pineapple and watermelon and bags of greens and salmon and chicken, and this all just given away too. This stuff I'm buying. I've gotten all kinds of stuff in these hauls, from broccoli pizza crust to mangoes. I think one time I had 3 full bags of limes. That it comes in spurts like that because you know how they do at food banks. They have one product that a store gives them. So usually, right now, I have 3 1-pound bags of whole hazelnuts, shelled hazelnuts. What am I going to do with hazelnuts? I guess I'm going to put them in my food saver and just because nuts will last a long time. You keep the air away from them. And I'm a prepper, so I'm just telling my dad, shit hits the fan, we're going to be fine. Because I probably right now, because the last 2.5 months of this one program have probably saved a couple 100 pounds of food easy.
Mm.
And so I think about that, TMC's talking about what he ate for supper, and then thinking about how much food I was just delivered for free today. And then I think about people, here, I think we understand what's going on because we research it, but it baffles me about how many of these entitled Americans that will bitch because they don't get the latest iPhone don't understand how privileged they are to live in a country where they have the opportunity to even own one.
Yep.
Down with capitalism.
Yeah.
On my cell phone.
We got to knock it down. We got to make it, homogeneous. Everybody suffers the same.
Equal outcome for everybody.
Right, equal outcome for everybody. Right, that's equity, ain't it? Isn't that the definition of equity?
Yes.
And sorry, Light Switch and D-Live. She says, Woot, you're back. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Twitch was fine. YouTube was fine. You guys, everybody else was shutting down. So I just went and rebooted the whole system and fired us right back up cold. So thanks for coming back. So anyway, go ahead.
So let me ask you this. What do you guys make of the statement that came out of the White House with Biden basically openly saying that, yes, communism is bad in light of what's going on in Cuba, and socialism isn't that much better. And even he got Circleback over there basically saying the same thing. Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black here?
Well, here's
Yeah,
what I took out of it
Sorry.
is that they basically already told us that they're not concerned with communism and socialism. They're just going to be straight up Marxists. They process of elimination. They've already tacitly explained what their ultimate agenda is.
Perfect. So they're a death cult. Cool. Glad we got that settled.
Yeah. Except that their cult comes at our death's expense.
Well, who's got the guns, them or us?
No, yeah. Understood. I'd also took it as they had to make some bullshit line because they were getting their lunch eaten for what they poo-pooed making the protests about COVID, and that the people were protesting the lack of vaccines and the lack of COVID.
No.
Yeah,
No.
right.
No.
Yeah, it says when do they have to hold? They're holding up U.S. flags for COVID.
Yeah, and I mean, it's no surprise they cut the internet, and now I see the headline: Biden mulls intervention in Cuba to provide Wi-Fi remotely. Well, wait a minute. Where do you think Cuba actually probably gets all their cables from? Hello, that's an island.
Yeah. Well, I think we have a graphic for that, don't we? We
Good
sure
possibility.
do. I do remember in that trafficking that we have all the international underwater lines, which are where all the internet traffic goes. Yeah, but on that front, again, the same couple that I visited, they also do missionary work, and they've done missionary work in Cuba. They've gone to Cuba, and to hear the stories, they came back with only the clothes on their back. They left everything that they took with them behind. They took stuff to dispense, right? But everything that they had of their own personal stuff, they left it all there for the people, because they have literally nothing. What you see, all that stuff that you see, Jay-Z and all those people, that's all propaganda front, so that it doesn't look as bad as the regular people, what we would consider the blue collar, right? They got nothing. One person was even begging for the couple to leave for a copy of a Bible because her husband was a preacher and he couldn't get a Bible.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Well, we kind of talked about it before TMC got here. We're talking about the moon wobble and stuff like that. Is there anything that you've seen TMC on the kind of stuff that you look into? I posted that patent in the room. That was a Google patent. I don't know if you guys had seen that as well. But some of that kind of stuff. House propagation. Have you seen anything like that, TMC?
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff on vaccines. There's nanotech for delivering therapeutics in all kinds of ways, through the skin, through the intestines, through the eyes, through the nose and mouth, through the lungs, through an injection. It's just a matter of how it's packaged and how it's stabilized, and then how it ultimately transforms in the body. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff out there that gives you an idea, and it falls in the realm of typically like cancer therapeutics. I looked at some stuff today, DARPA's Prepare program, where they talk about using CRISPR technology to go in and do something, and then potentially using bacteria or bacteriophages to go in and reverse CRISPR, or to silence CRISPR. And when you look at the puzzle pieces independently, they're all very interesting. And, to some extent, it's pretty dry. But when you start looking at the whole construct and this idea of putting information in the body that ultimately becomes switches that turn on or turn off something. And in the DARPA Prepare program, they discuss being able to do things like control which genetics are expressed, which to me says that they're able to control epigenetic switches as well as maybe hard genetic switches. And to have that kind of control or functionality over a cell, and then to be able to specifically target an organ system or the nervous system, and then have many of these different switches all doing something constructively or destructively at the same time inside of an organism leads to some very good configurations. You know, from a military perspective, you're able to inoculate for specific protections. We call them disease because people think inoculations are for, you know, something that's going to get you sick. But inoculations could be, when you're talking about switches, inoculations could be like an encryption system that has a timer on it so that when you go into another country, your genetic profile or your heart rate or how you respirate or whatever is changed as a result of whatever switches have been inserted into either an organ system or a nervous system, so that your biometric signatures are different than what they are in their normal or natural state. And to be able to do that and you know, creep around in someone else's country, that would be really, really cool if the military could do that. But what the military, I think, what I think is being done with this technology is building switches that allow for any type of varying degree of death, meaning the speed of death and or the type of death, and also in a more sophisticated way through the process of exercising power amongst the entire world population at this point, the ability to perfect remote tissue scaffolding, which is also an offshoot of this DARPA Prepare program. There are other programs as well. And this remote tissue scaffolding would consist of directed energy systems that would interface with the genetics in your body that ultimately create things like prions or proteins or enzymes or anything that could then in turn be interacted with the directed energy system to do things like constructively control the degradation of the scaffolding of something like a liver or the scaffolding of something like a heart, where the cells of the organs themselves that make up the heart or the liver stay intact, but the scaffolding, meaning the vasculature, how the blood supply goes, how the lymph goes, the nerves, and the structure itself that holds all of the organ cells together, have that be systematically interacted with, where an inflammation is induced selectively at the right time with the right resonances to then express something like spike protein as an example, to then be a binder of some type when something else is administered in the body. And what I'm getting at is potentially something like a remote trigger system that when after a month or 2 months, when enough of this stuff is in a biological as a weapon system, right, you would be able to say, okay, this individual has eaten McDonald's enough over the last 30 days. And we know in the recipe of McDonald's, there's this, that, and the other that break down into these compounds and or have this synthetic nanotech that the body doesn't know what to do with. So it deposits it in things like the kidneys and the liver. And we've been able to remotely measure that this individual has the right pieces necessary to go ahead and remotely activate something like a self-assembly of, let's say, a proverbial antenna or advanced forms of cancer or some type of a rash or psoriasis or rheumatoid arthritis or whatever fun little way they want to fucking torture you. Pardon my language. But that's the weapon side of being able to change somebody's genetics and have them go cloak and have different biometric signatures in a covert application in someone else's country, where you could literally give them genetics of another world leader's brother or cousin or security staff, so that individual then would resonate, your operative in another country would resonate as they payload from an airplane and drop down in beyond security parameters. They would literally have the same resonant characteristics of somebody that was intimately trusted with the target of interest or point of interest. And for 12 or 14 hours, their resonance is completely cloaked through something like genetic and epigenetic switches that then allow for electromagnetics to literally artificially resonate an individual's bioelectromagnetic signature. That's one end of the spectrum, all the way up to selective kill grid, remote detonation of a biological after a week, a month, a year.
Hey,
you know,
give me 1 second.
with something like a cell phone in your pocket.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Okay, you all can tell by the topic of this conversation, YouTube's about to go bye-bye. So thanks, Pinata, for the, he's like, you might want to cut off YouTube. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to be silenced here, but I try to maintain the channel for our UK folks. So in chat, I dropped the link for Linktree. We're on several different other platforms. Please jump over there. And with that, everybody say bye to YouTube.
Bye, Susan.
Bye, YouTube. Okay.